Thanks for coming to this session. I'm Yusuke Konishi. I'd like to talk about Undertale today. I heard this is the first English presentation, right? In DroidKnights. Do you know English? Okay. I'll try Korean introduction. It's my first try. 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. 저는 유스케 코니시입니다. 저는 도쿄 출신입니다. 처음 방문입니다. 저는 여기에 와서 너무 기쁩니다. My Korean is correct? Do you know my Korean? Okay. Thank you so much. It's wonderful. Let me introduce myself a little bit in English. My GitHub Twitter name is Konishi. I publish some open source tools and apps on GitHub. I created the example app for this session. We can see the default components we can apply with app component and material components. It supports changing theme and switching day-night mode. Today I will explain Android theme with this example Q-Tab app. If you are interested in it, please Chrome and touch it. Okay, let's get started to the main topic about Android theme. Android theme is very convenient but a little complex. Many engineers might not understand how to use Android theme effectively. At first, let's review Android theme overview. As you may know, we can make the app design unified and sophisticated by using Android theme. Theme is technically the same with style. In short, theme is like a global setting, and style is like a local setting. It has become more important to use Android theme since material design appeared in 2014. As for app comfort, the most known attributes and big three: color primary and color primary dark and color accent. Like this, the colors are applied in navigation bar, toolbar, and floating action button, and the other components. You can easily create material design color apps by using theme effectively. But actually, not all engineers seem to be using theme well. I guess there are two common problems that makes complex for many engineers. The first one is too many parent themes in the library like App Compat. Android Studio suggests many themes. You might not understand which parent theme is correct, how we can find. Second problem is too many attributes. As you know, theme has really a lot of attributes, not only colors, but also the text appearances, styles of the components. Recently, some attributes which can modify component text and added by material component library. We must set the attributes in each views because it's hard to know all the attributes, and someone might not understand which we should use style or theme. Okay. Today I'll talk about how to use theme effectively. My session is based on using app compat for material components because almost used apps use it. First, I'll detail about apply theme, which parent themes should be implemented. App compat and material components provide many themes. How can we change theme and night mode dynamically. Second one is about theme attributes. I guess many engineers are interested in this part. As you know, theme has usually a lot of attributes. I will talk what kind of attributes there are. I'll focus on especially about how to find themes attributes which you want to set. I will be glad that you have become familiar with under the theme after this session. Okay, then first part is applying theme. Let's review applying theme under manifest. Theme is applied to application or activity under manifest. In the case of the transparent activity like camera screen, it would be better to apply theme to each activities. I'll explain what theme we should specify as parent theme. Before moving on the main topic, let me talk about the theme inheritance. There are two inheritance ways, dot style and the parent style. For this example of dot style, theme dot appcompat dot light dot no action bar inherits theme appcompat light with some attributes which are related to action bar. On the other hand, we can inherit theme by parent style as well. Parent inheritance prior to the dot style is important. For taking the proper inheritance style, I'll explain the case we should use parent inheritance style. The first case is that we inherit theme which is provided the library like appcompat and components. And second case is that we want to manage the differences of API version. Let's see how appcompat manages the differences of API version. And the manifest under theme keeps evolving so that there are some attributes which is added since new API version. Under we can change the theme per API version by using directories named version suffix. The theme is the bodies directory with no version suffix inherits desktop v7 theme. That parent theme is platform one, and with it includes many attributes. On the other hand, the same base theme in version v21 inherits base.v21 theme. This parent is material one. It's different from the theme in bodies directory. In bodies v28 directory, its new version, the theme inherits another parent theme. Thus, we can use the same name like base.theme.appcompat.light by using parent inheritance. As you may already know, basically we don't need to inherit base theme which are provided by the library like appcompat and material components. Then which theme should we inherit? To choose the proper inheritance theme, it would be good to know the theme name rule. Actually, it's simple. The theme name rules which are private activity and fragment is very simple. The first part is just the prefix. Basically, it would be good to take the one with theme prefix. Theme override is used to override the theme in each use. The second part is the theme name. In other words, library name. In most cases, app-compatible material components. The third means the background brightness. When we specify nothing, the screen becomes dark background and light text color. In the case of light, the screen becomes light background and dark text color. When we specify daylight, we can switch both brightness by the time or the manual. The last part represents actionable brightness. We specify it when we want to make actionable dark and light background. If we specify no actionable is disappeared. This is used in the case of the screen which doesn't need actionable. This is quick summary. We can find the proper theme by choosing only 3 parts. So easy. And one more thing, the bridge theme is added by material components library. Bridge theme inherits from app-compat theme, but also define the mandatory new API and new attributes. If you use the bridge theme, you can start using the material components library without changing your app theme immediately. It's easy. Since we get to know which parent theme which we should choose, let's change the topic and see the way to change theme programmatically. In the case of action work, in the case of activity, just call set theme method before set content view. In the case of fragment, it's easy as well. The only thing you have to do is to inflate view by using clone inflator, which is created with context text wrapper. I'll explain how to switch daylight mode programmatically as well. Recently, Slack and Twitter supports daylight. At first, create the theme which inherits daylight and specify text color and color background attributes. We can specify the different colors for night mode by using various night directory. Then the colors are applied like this. Background and colors are totally changed. It's easy to change day-night mode programmatically. Just call set local night mode method of activity delegate. We don't need to restart activity. The mode is applied immediately. If you set the theme and attributes properly, it's so easy to support night mode like Twitter and Slack. Then on next part, I'll talk about how we can find proper theme attributes. I'll talk about the way to find the attributes instead of its meanings. The best way to read is reading the Frog framework and library code. Basically, the library has all attributes in themes XML and themes base XML. You can find the attributes in the code on these links, but it's so hard. So I've explained the categories of the attributes to make it easy to understand. there are so many attributes, but actually they are categorized only 7 types: colors, drawables, and text color, text appearances, shape appearances, widget styles, themes, and window configurations. You don't need to remember all the attributes. I'll explain the overview of these categories. I'll explain with one of the material design case studies, which name is OWL. OWL changes the vivid theme by the screens. But first, create common app theme, because OWL seems to be has common styles. For example, it would be better to define text appearances, which contains font and line spaces. It would be better to define common shape appearance, because color view style looks same between screens. On the other hand, it would be better to create different themes for each screens, because colors are totally different. Color primary variant, color secondary should be defined according to the design. Color background and text color as well. It might be better to define bottom navigation style on the center screen. As for the right screen, we need to specify some attributes of the window configuration by a version to make the status bar transparent. Themes XML is like this. I guess it's good to restrict the theme attributes by the category comments like this, because attributes tend to be increased. Many attributes here. So today I don't have so much time to explain all the categories. So I talk about colors, widget styles, and shape appearances. It's hard to grasp all the attributes of each categories. So I summarized all the attributes by each categories to simple markdown table on GitHub. This is the GitHub repository link. Like this, you can find the attribute list and in which library they are defined. You can set the official document of each attributes. This library will be helpful to find the attributes and know its meanings. Then let's see colors at first. I focused on the difference between app component and material components. Some of the app component library changed in material components. For example, color primary block, which is applied in status bar, is changed to color primary variant. Some colors called color umbrella and added in material components library. They are applied as the foreground color on some basic app colors, like this. For example, color on surface is applied like this. Border color of text, edit text, default tab text color, and ripple color on tab layout. Color on primary is applied to the text color on the primary color bottom, and the color on secondary is applied to the icon color on the floating action button. As for text colors, there is no big changes between app component and material components. We can set some colors of the components. The attribute which is named control blah blah affects the component colors, which has some actions. If you want to know more colors, see these links. After this session, I will share this presentation link. Basically, we can customize many widgets by only colors attributes, but we can change more flexibly by using widget styles. For example, let's see tab style. Without no style, the background color is transparent and there is no elevation. If you specify tab style in app theme, tab layout inherits widget.design.tab layout and specify elevation, background, and text color. Then, how can we find the widget style and widget attributes? I will introduce my own way. I usually use Android Studio suggestion because it's really smart. Only 3 steps. At first, input widget name you want to change style. Maybe you can find style attributes like toolbar style and back button style. After finding the attribute name, find the default style. Input the expected default style, like widget.toolbar, and then you can find the one. As for app-compat theme, the style is widget.app-compat.toolbar. And finally, search the attributes of the default style. Probably you can expect the attribute meanings from its name. I usually search on GitHub repository. That's it, so easy. If you want to know more widget style, see these links. And finally, I'll explain shape appearances. It is added by material components. You can change the widget's shape. The material component theme has 3 attributes about shape appearances. You can also specify as widget style one by one. They are applied to the components according to its size. For example, shape appearance medium components is applied to card view. The attributes and only corner family and corner size. I guess it will be increased in the future. Corner family has 2 types, cut and rounded. As this table shows, you can customize the shape flexibly. We can set shape appearance in each widget style, like chip style and button style. When you apply cut family to floating action button, use floating action button style. Remember that you have to specify shape appearance overlay instead of shape appearance attributes to override the style. And finally, I talk which we should use style or theme a little bit. I guess some engineers are interested in this topic. Simply speaking, it depends on the design. You can customize almost widget by using theme. If the design is common in the app, it should be better to define as theme. On the other hand, if the widget font or shape is specific in the app, it should be defined as a style and apply it in each layout. For example, let's think about the material design study called Fortnightly. If design guideline contains the typography section, it would be better to define its appearance as theme. On the other hand, edit text for the search screen should be defined as style, because it seems to be specific style in the app. Chip style should be defined as theme, I guess, because its style seems to be common. In short, it depends on how common the colors and widget styles are. If the designer is in your team, it would be great to discuss the design and define theme together. Lastly, I'll summarize the section quickly. There are many themes attributes, but they are categorized to only 7 types. The important thing is to know how to find the attributes you want to set. The colors and widget styles, which should be defined as theme, depends on the design. It would be good to discuss and think which component design should be defined as theme. To use theme effectively, read the material design doc and use the material theming tools like material components library. Material theming tools helps you to implement your design. Have fun using Android theme. Thanks for kind attention. 감사합니다.